Hey, Tim Unkert here, and in this video I'm going to make a worksheet in English and Spanish on fraction multiplication. Now, I'm going to use Python to automate the process. I had originally thought of using LaTeX to render the fractions, but I'm actually going to write to HTML files and just use superscript and subscript to do slanted fractions. I will also reduce the fractions with the greatest common factor of the fractions. And we're going to go through a process of creating a class called a fraction and having a method in that class to reduce the fractions. Okay, so let's get started. I have this fraction multiplication folder open here, and let me just get my font size a little bit larger for you. So here, we'll bump that up to 18. Okay, and we'll create a file in this folder called main.py. And we're going to import a few things. We're going to import OS, import sys, import random. We're going to take the path for the system and append just a dot. So we can basically bring in classes from files that are in this folder. I'm going to import, or actually from a file called lists.py, I'm going to import a class called list. And from a file called fractions.py, I'm going to import, import fraction. Okay, actually, just fraction. I don't know why I did that. Okay, I'm going to also create a object and call it rand, and that's going to be the list class. Some dust in this room. And then I'm going to create a few files to write to. So we're going to say fractions file. That's going to be, let's call it fractions.html. And we'll append to that and create some more files here. And I'll call this one Spanish file and this one solution file. Okay. So we've got our files that we're going to write to. All right, so that's good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is create another file called list.py. And we're going to have a class called list. And within it, I'll have a method called random list. And I'm going to have a random number list that's empty to start. I'm going to want my numbers to be between 1 and 50. So I'm going to say for x in range 1, and then I have to put 1 higher than 50, so 51. I'm going to take the random number list and append x. Okay. All right. So that's good. And then at the end of this, I want to return the random number list. Okay. So that's my list class. Now I want to get my numerator product and my denominator product, and then I want to start to reduce them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another file. Let's call that functions.py, or sorry, fractions.py. Okay, and let me make sure I imported, yep, fractions. I'm going to make sure I'm naming everything correctly. I'm going to create a class called fraction. Okay, and then I'm going to instantiate that. I'm going to pass in self. Then we're going to have numerator 1, numerator 2, denominator 1, and denominator 2 for our fractions. The numerator is the top part of the fraction, and the denominator is the bottom part of the fraction. And since we're multiplying fractions together, we have to multiply the numerators by each other and the denominators by each other. All right, so I can use these through other methods here. I'm going to say self.numerator 1 equals numerator 1, and then I'm just going to copy that line and change that to 2. And I'm going to say self.denominator 1 equals denominator 1. And then do this for both. Okay, do that for denominator 2. Okay, that's going to be one function. We're also going to have a function that creates the numerator product. And, sorry, we're going to pass in the self here. And we're going to say the numerator product, or the num prod, is going to equal self.numerator1 times self.numerator2. And we're going to return the numerator product, or num prod. Okay, so we're also going to have the denominator product and pass in the self, and we'll say den underscore prod self dot denominator 1 times self dot denominator 2, and we're going to return this den prod variable. Okay, so now we also need to find the greatest common factor between the numerator and the denominator, because we would divide those out to get our reduced numerator and reduced denominator. So we're going to have a function, let's call it find GCF, and pass in the self, and we'll say GCF, we'll start off with GCF equal to 1. And then what we're going to do is we'll say if self.numerator product, if that's greater than self.denominator product, okay, what we're going to do is, if that's greater, what we're going to do is, whoops, we're going to have a colon here. We're going to then loop through values from basically from 2, 1 greater than the GCF, up to the value of the lower one. We don't want to go above it. So we're going to have to go up through, so we'll say for x in range, we'll start at 2 and we'll go up to self.denominator product. Whoops. And then we'll add 1 because we want to go up to the actual number. And what we'll say is if the self.numerator product, if the modulo of that in x equals 0, and self.denominator product, the modulo of that, and x equals 0, what we're going to do is we're going to say, so if both of those are equal to 0, meaning it's both the numerator and the denominator are divisible by whatever x is, then we're going to say that the GCF equals x. Okay? Just x. Okay? And now we'll also say if now self.numerator product, if that's less than self.denominator product, well, what we're going to do is we're going to say for, let's say, y in range 2 to self.numerator product, the lower one, plus 1, we're going to say if self.numerator product modulo x equals 0, so it's divisible by x, and self.denominator product modulo x equals 0. Well, if those are both true, then the GCF would equal y. At the end of this function, we'll return the GCF. Okay? Just the GCF. I don't know why it's auto-completing like that, but anyway, so that's the end of that function. All right, so if none of these are divisible by 0, if we just run through and this doesn't work, GCF stays at 1, okay? So there is no reduction to be made. But we can get a reduction if it becomes greater than 1. So we can say def reduced So a method for the reduced numerator. We'll pass in the self, and we'll say that, let's see, let's just say RED for reduced, NUM for numerator, equals, let's do self.numerator product divided by self.find GCF, because that'll return the greatest common factor, and we'll just return the reduced num, or red num in this case. We're going to do the same thing for the denominator, so we're going to say reduced underscore denominator, pass in the self, and we'll say REDN for reduced denominator. We'll take this time the self denominator product, divide it by, and I'm using self so I can use methods that are in this class, find GCF, and we'll return the reduced denominator. Okay, so that's that for that class. And now we want to go to the main.py. So we've opened these files. You may just want to, well, we can just write the HTML. So, and then I'm going to go through and neaten it up. So I'm going to say for problem in range, let's do 100 problems, so 1 to 101. We're going to say that numerator 1 equals random.choice. That's why I imported the random module. And then we'll do rand.rand random list, that method. And let's just duplicate this line. Okay, so this is going to be numerator 2. This here is going to be denominator. So denominator 1 and 2. Okay, and then we're going to create a new object, which is going to be a new problem that's going to equal a fraction, the fraction class, when we pass in numerator 1, numerator 2, denominator 1, and denominator 2. Okay, so we got this new problem class. Now we can take our files and start to write to them. So let's start with our fractions file. We're going to write to it, and we're going to write some HTML. So we're going to write an H2 tag, and we want to make this an F string. So an H2 tag, we'll say problem, and then we'll pass in the problem variable here, and we'll close out the H2 tag, and then we'll do a /n to move down to the next line. I'm going to duplicate this line, and I'm also going to do this for the Spanish file and for the solution file. The only difference with the Spanish file is I'm going to add problema. Okay, now I'm going to write out the problem. So I'm going to do, let's do the fractions file dot write, make it an F string. So we'll start with a paragraph. We'll say what is, and then we'll do in superscript. So it's going to be numerator 1. Close out my superscript tag, go to subscript. Okay, and then my denominator 1. Close out my subscript tag. Okay, we'll close this line here and then just keep writing to this file. So we'll say fractions file.write, continue with the F string, and then we'll write the times symbol, so times, then superscript, numerator 2, close the superscript tag, /subscript, denominator 2, close the subscript tag, and put a question, and then close out my question mark there. We'll do a /n to move to the next line. Okay, I'm going to take both of these, copy them, and right here we'll instead put in the Spanish file. Okay, and we'll change this to Spanish. So English to Spanish. Let's look that up. We'll say what is. Okay, ace. Okay, so I want to get the beginning upside down question marks here. So I'm going to say instead of what is, I'm going to paste in K ace, just that times that, and I think the rest is fine. Okay. All right, so we've written that. Let me just move this so you can see everything that I'm doing here. So we've written the fraction file and the fraction Spanish file. We also want the solution, so I'm going to take the fraction solution file. I'm going to write an F string. I'm going to write this. I want to write a paragraph tag solution. Oh, one other thing. I forgot to close out the paragraph tag here. That's important. All right, so I'm going to write solution, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to, I've got to do it here as well. Okay, catching my little errors as I go. All right, so the solution is going to be, well, I'm going to have to do superscript here, and then we're going to look at the fraction. What method do we want? So it's reduce numerator, that method. So we're going to pass in the new problem dot reduced numerator method, close the superscript tag, and then put a slash, and let's just close that, and then we'll write down on the next line, so our lines don't get too long, we'll write fractions solution file dot write, okay, another F string, and we're going to have a subscript now, pass in the new problem dot reduced denominator method, close out the subscript, and then close out the paragraph, and those are my quotes there, and then also a slash n for formatting. Okay. After I write all this stuff, I probably want to have a little horizontal line between each, so I'm going to write fractions file dot write, and I don't need an F string, so I'm just going to write the HTML tag. We'll include the backslash there. So that's a horizontal line. And let's just do that for our other files, for our Spanish file and for our solution file. Okay, so now I'm going out of the for loop. I think I just need to close these files up. So I'm going to say fractions file.close, and then duplicate that line and do it for the Spanish file and for the solution file. Okay. All right, I have my stuff created. Let's bring up a terminal and we'll see. This is kind of just done on the fly, so we'll see if we get some errors. Okay, so I'm going to run Python 3, and then we'll run the main.py method. And we've got some errors. Okay, so we got to fix some things. So 33. Actually, let's look at 24. Fractions.py. Local variable x reference before assignment. So let's exit out of here. Let's go to line 24. That makes sense because I was going for y in range, so that was a mistake. So let's fix that. All right, let's fix that. Let's bring back this stuff. I want to just delete this file because I don't want it to be written just yet. Okay, so let's bring up my terminal again, and let's run this again, and we'll see what issues we might have. Okay, no issues, all right. But we only wrote to one file. So that actually is an issue. So what did I do up here? Let's look into my main.py. All right, so I forgot to change it. So everything's going to be written to the one file. So I'm going to write fractions Spanish.html, and let's do fraction solution.html. Okay, and let's again delete this. see like everything was added in that file. Okay, and let's bring up my terminal. Let's run it. Okay, so now we have 3 HTML files created. That's better. All right, and let's look at our fractions.html file. So we have 49 over 1, 17 over 29. Okay. And our solution, 833 over 29. It's giving us as a decimal. Yeah, we probably don't want that. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, let's go here, open up the terminal. I'm going to close this file out, and I'm just going to remove the HTML files with star.html. Okay, so we got rid of those files. Let's get out of here. And I think I want, let's take a look, parse int Python. Is that what I want? String to an int. No, I want a float to an int. So let's do float to int Python. Let's look at this website, see what it says. Int, just integer. Yeah, I was overthinking that one. All right, cool. All right, let's go up to fractions here, and let's take a look. And let's just, yeah, that should work. Because when we do division of Python, you will get a float, and I want the answer key to be as an integer. Okay, let's try and run this again. Okay, so it ran. Let's look at the solutions. Solutions are now just integers. Okay. So we take a look. There's our solutions. There's the Spanish version, and there's the regular version. So let's say we wanted to put this version on the web. What I can do is just let's do a little Emmet abbreviation, HTML, and it's not going to work. We want to have viewport. Say the content is with. I'm just doing the viewport tag, so this will be good on mobile. On mobile, width equals device dash width, initial scale equals 1.0. Title for that is going to be fractions, or multiplying fractions. Okay, we'll give a description here. We'll say this contains 100 problems where students must multiply fractions with numerator, well, just multiply fractions and reduce, something like that. Okay, go down here. We'll include a style if I want to put this on my 90s style blog. So the only style that I have there, I don't need this media screen. The only style I need there, I'm going to say the body, the max width is 800 pixels. This is the styling I'm using for my 90s style blog, and a padding of 20 pixels. That's it. Okay, I can, if I'm going to include this, I could include my Google Analytics tag. I won't do that right now. This part here, I'm going to cut this off here, and I'm going to go to the end of the file here and paste it. Okay, and then I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to right click. I do have Atom Beautify in here, so I'm just going to click on that. That's going to quickly format it a little bit nicer with proper indentation. If you look properly indented there. So that's just making it look a little nicer. And my HTML file is good to go. Let's take a look at it. And so we'll go to Linux files, Python worksheets, fraction multiplication. Let's take a look at fractions.html. So we've got the slanted fractions here and all our problems 1 through 100. Now, if I want to add a few things, I could also add here just paragraph tag for your name. And make that go a little bit longer. And then a paragraph tag here for the date, something like that. Hit Control S to save it. Refresh it, go to the top, and you see the name and the date there. And then you start into your problems, okay? And, you can modify this. You could wrap it with divs if you wanted to give a little bit more spacing, whatever you want. Now I can, let's say I want to add one more thing. I'm just going to go down to the bottom here, right below the body, or right above the body tag. I'm just going to have a paragraph, and I'm going to put my copyright information. Say 2021, Timothy Unkert, all rights reserved. Okay, Control S to save. We'll refresh. So if I go down to the bottom here, I've got my copyright information. Okay, if I want to create a PDF from this, I'm going to right-click and then click on Print. I want to select Save as PDF. Okay, you can also save it as Google Drive if you want. I want to go down to here and uncheck headers and footers, and that local address stuff will go away, and you'll see I have a nice PDF that I can put up on Teacher Pay Teachers, which I will. I'll put this worksheet up on Teacher Pay Teachers. All I have to do is click Save, save it to a file. I would do the same exact thing for, and I might take out these horizontal lines because they're not showing up 100% well. Maybe it's the print preview. Let's actually take a look. So if I save it, you say multiplying fractions. Let's click Save. Let's go. I think I saved it to my downloads. Let's open it. Oh, okay. Actually, they're showing up fine on the PDF. So yeah, I can put this up on Teacher Pay Teachers. I'll leave a link to that in the description. But I would do the same thing for the Spanish version and also for the solutions. The Spanish version, I would just write nombre and fecha, I think, for the date. And then, I would translate the copyright stuff at the bottom. That's pretty much it. To creating a worksheet with fractions. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. It really does help the channel grow and helps the algorithm and all that. And also I'll leave my social links in the description below as well as a link to Teacher Pay Teachers. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next one, and have a great day.